how's the e-commerce acquisition landscape really evolved in the last year or two for you?
Yeah. So a couple things on that. I mean, one, we have acquired significantly over the past year. We've done many deals. We've gone from 6 brands to 12, but we have been a little bit more selective. There are acquirers out there that went out and did 100 acquisitions or 200 acquisitions, whole bunch of really smaller brands. That's just never been our approach. There might be some that are successful with that approach, but with us, what we focused on is larger scale acquisitions. So brands that do anywhere from 5 to 20 or $30 million of revenue, because we find that it's easier to manage larger businesses than what it is small brands that acquiring 30, 40, 50 of them. So that's one thing that's a little bit different with us in comparison to maybe an Amazon aggregator that acquires 100 or hundreds of brands. Another thing that we've kind of seen in the marketplace is getting more focus from a category perspective is key. It's hard to be experts in everything. There are some acquirers out there that really focus on home goods and they really are specialized in that approach. There are others like Society that focuses on health and personal care, still generally broad, but more geared towards health and wellness, where we essentially help consumers feel good, look good, and live a better life. That's really what our slogan here is at Society is. And we stay focused on that. That's what my background was, is in the health and wellness space prior to starting Society. I partnered in a population health management company, scaled that to a large business before founding Society Brands. So that's kind of like what our focus is. And that's kind of maybe the second point is instead of doing a whole bunch of acquisitions, more focused on larger acquisitions. And then two, category focus. And then the third thing is, I would say, profitability. It's so important for an acquirer to get to that level of profitability. At Society, we are profitable today on a consolidated basis. And I think that that's another thing that instead of growing at all costs, which is the old aggregator slogan, really focused on profitability, the core fundamentals of a business, whether you're a small brand that does $10,000 a month on Amazon, or if you're a large scale business that does 10 million a month on D2C and Amazon and a whole bunch of other e-commerce marketplaces, there's one thing that just reigns true, and that is profitability. Then the last thing that we've seen that's really critical as it pertains to the aggregator space is how are the brands doing post acquisition? Are they growing or are they declining? Are the brands better with you or are they better without you? And so I think that there's an increased sense of organic growth on if you're a consolidator and you're acquiring e-commerce brands. And at Society, what we focus on is really four things. I coined this phrase. It's an acronym called RACO, RACO. The R stands for raising capital. How's Society doing from a capital raise perspective, whether it's debt or equity or combination of the two? The second thing is acquisitions, acquire great brands at prices that we can afford that are fair to the founders as well. So that's the A. The C is controlling our costs. That's another thing that other aggregators have maybe struggled with is controlling their corporate overhead and making sure they're not getting too bloated from an OpEx perspective. So C is controlling our costs. And O is that point that I mentioned a few minutes ago, which is organic growth, making sure that the brands post acquisition are growing. I think those four things are the core pillars of why Society Brands has been successful to date, but also what others should be focused on as well. And I think that if there has been failures in this space, likely they're lacking one or two, or maybe all of those categories.